So you would say instead of getting too detailed with mechanics, then they should be doing a variety of motor skills like jump
Hmm.
roping, for example, or
Yep.
bear crawling, those types of things to build
Yep.
that coordination that will translate to better mechanics. Is that,
Yeah. And
yeah,
it's that fundamental coordination because for female athletes and young girls, it's even trickier because they experience peak height velocity a lot earlier than guys and boys, and then you'll have the maturing into a woman when they start the menstrual cycles, and that has an effect on the way that the body grows and changes. So from that early stage, even using like jump rope, amazing, even using stuff like ladders to develop coordination to just get the brain working. It's not going to improve speed, but it will improve coordination. And that's the primary goal. And if you have a more coordinated athlete, the likelihood of injury is going to be reduced purely because their brain knows where their feet are on the ground. And that's a huge, huge part of it, you know?
is there any value in teaching a really young kid how to position their arms for sprinting, or do you think that can wait till later to sort itself
Abs-
out?
yeah, absolutely not. Like I wouldn't bother. If anyone, if you're trying, because it's attentional focus. So how do you keep the attention of a 9-year-old? You know, what's the way to do it?
Task
You can't.
oriented.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what we can do is I do it with I've been doing a lot, started to do a lot more youth stuff down here in person, and we just say, "Can you march like a soldier, please?" Arms done. Let's go. Next job. And that's all you need because you have to create the associated response that you want and then make it fun. Not go put this arm here and then don't let it come back to there. And if it comes back too high or you're going to slow down, is 9. You've already lost him. He's probably
Right.
trying to pick up a worm, you
Yeah,
know?
or you need like this degree of your elbow, hand
Yeah.
past the hip, hands
Yeah.
relaxed. Like it's just too much and it just doesn't land well. It's not stimulating and it's kind of
No.
giving the kid all the answers, I guess.
Yeah, and I've got more involved in some of the youth stuff just because a friend of mine is just taking over his son's football team, and he's like, I was like, me and my coaches, we just send each other from social media. I was like, show me what you send each other, and they send everything that adults do, and so there's a huge disconnect between, and a lot of the stuff that we know on social media isn't good anyway. It's not valid. It's not useful. And the idea with that is that these very, and I'll say this with the utmost respect, these incredibly passionate, energetic, enthusiastic parents as well who took their coaching badges. Like my dad did it with rugby with me. He took his rugby coaching, he was a football player to help. But then what? But then they don't know the next bit. So then they just try to do their best without, and then ultimately they end up making some, in our eyes, fundamental mistakes because they're just trying their best, and I think that's why this conversation is really valid.
Yeah. And I really love that you're doing more work with youth. And I know you also mentioned last time on the other episode that it really takes a special coach to work with young kids, especially when
Mm,
it comes to developing speed and a lot of these motor skills and just making sure that it's fun and they can lean into creativity and solving movement problems because that's what really translates to team sports too, which are very chaotic and involve a lot of
mm,
thinking.
mm,
So, yeah, I always tell parents this, but they still revert back to we want the mechanics coach. We want the full structured session where they're telling our kid exactly what to do and I'm just trying to tell people mentally and emotionally that's not the best thing for your kid.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, because you know what happens when these athletes get into high school collegiate settings. You know, I think in the States, it's they'll be in the weight room from high school. Over here, it's unless they're in an academy, they'll have access to it or a private school. But that's when they actually start a lot of the time can train those movement solutions outside of the body because they do too much of that stuff. They start ignoring all the creative and playful elements and just become gym rats, especially with guys more. I think probably in cultural of female sport, correct me if I'm wrong, that there does need to be more education around the importance of weight training and resistance training, but why and when you do it. I had a coach come up to me last week. He's like, I need you to talk to this player because he has literally squatted all of his movement capabilities out of his body, you know, and so that's when it goes too far. So giving our young athletes the freedom to explore, because all game breaking situations are not done by the tactical rulebook. They're done through, oh, a half stumble and regather, a forward roll, keep dribbling, beat a player with an outrageous turn. Like these are all creative exploits. You know, you must know like the Cruyff turn. Can you train that in the gym? Can you train that type of creativity, which is now a staple in a soccer player's skill set? You know, it's those things that are created through play.